Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Roth-Novak. I am the CEO and co-founder of PartySlate. I am really excited to have Annie Lee here with me today to talk a little bit about a new business that she just launched and to learn more about her background in events and just have a great conversation. So thank you, Annie, for spending the time with me today.
Thank you for having me. This is exciting. I haven't had a lot of interviews about the new project, so excited to be here to talk
So
about it.
before we get into Plannie about the new business, tell me a little bit about your background and how you got into the events world. And then I would love to hear about this new business.
Sure. I'm actually from California originally, and I went to school in Northern California. And I started off working with the San Francisco Opera really as an intern and they joked that I was like the intern that wouldn't leave.
Yes.
And I was there for like 2 years, and I was set on going into some sort of arts corporate events. But then, there was a really bad .com bust, and I
Yes. I
ended
remember that.
yeah. And the only person doing events was a wedding planner. So then I part-timed with this wedding planner, and you know turned out I was good at it. Fast forward, I ended up moving to New York, and I worked for the Tribeca Film Festival, doing marketing and events. And I remember thinking about cutting my hair to save money on shampoo because they
Wow.
paid little, so like taxis were a luxury. So it really made me start thinking like, okay, I need to make side income. But in New York City, you can't be like a waitress or a hostess without being like a model or a professional, right?
Right.
So I had never done anything like retail or anything like that. So the thing that I could rely on and kind of started moonlighting was I started doing wedding planning just as a
Okay.
side gig. And after a couple of years of doing that, it turned into like a whole nother business. So that was 2006 is when I started doing events in New York. And then by 2008, I had gone full time with Daughter of Design. So, 12 years later, it's grown quite a bit. We do a ton of destination. We do also a ton of corporate.
Your events are beautiful. I have seen many of them on PartySlate and featured in articles and stunning. So you're based in Miami, but you also have a lot of clients in New York.
Yeah, I mean, I was a longtime New Yorker. I'm from California. I'm, down. I always say my shoes are in Miami,
Yeah.
and that's where home is. But I am traveling constantly, minus obviously right now during
Yes.
COVID.
Yes. And so tell me a little before we start talking about Plannie, how the business came about during this time of COVID and the time of isolation and craziness that's going on right now.
So you mean for Planny?
Yeah.
So Planny's been around and has been on my mind for 5 years plus.
Yes.
So it's just right now why I'm working on it so much is because I have the time to
The
finally
time to
work.
invest in it. Mhm.
Exactly. So I've actually been offering, okay, well, really in a nutshell, really quickly, what Planny is. Planny, you can hire an event planner by the hour, and there's a local expert in every city. So it's not just for weddings, it's for any kind of event, big or small,
Yes.
that you want to work with a planner, but maybe you don't necessarily need or want a full service planner. So it's just
Yes.
kind of giving you that option.
And so you have local experts that are part of your network that are trusted, experienced, that people can access for part-time, not necessarily kind of the full-blown event.
I mean, I'm a big believer in that locals know their city the best.
Yes.
Anytime I do a destination event, I always tap into a local planner,
Yes.
and I kind of bring them onto my team to be my local help
Great.
because I don't speak the language. I'm not on the time zone. They know them personally, right?
Mhm.
It's just, you can't beat that
Local
local
knowledge.
know-how. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was something. So in terms of hourly consultations, it's something that I've been doing with Daughter of Design since 2009. I like looked back in my records and I'm like, when
So
did
you've
I
been doing
start?
this for a long time.
Really, really long time. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of, if I've it's been a success for me in that, in many reasons. So one, I noticed that there's a lot of times where I price someone out, or I'm just too much, or there's not a perfect fit package, and I don't want to lose that opportunity I don't want them to have to struggle on their own. I don't want to like, I want to find a solution and a way for us to be able to work together. Right. So I
Yes.
always joke, it's like I do my regular sales pitch, and at the end, it's kind of like the last, like, wait, before
Yeah.
you leave, I have one other thing we can do. So
Yeah.
if full service wasn't for them, I always try to hang on to the client somehow and retain them. Or even if it's like they're not sure that they want to, they're not even sure if they're doing this event yet and they want to do some discovery work, right? They're not even sure if it's possible. Can I do Italy? How much does that cost? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And so it's
It also helps you get paid for your time versus doing all this free consultation that many times is not covered.
I mean, this is super beneficial to both sides.
Yeah.
For the client, you get to test run a planner, you get to do some discovery phase with no commitment. You can just get a little bit of help that you need. And there's a ton of events that, I don't feel like have access to a planner traditionally. Like, even if you're doing a shower or a corporate
Yeah.
small event, it wouldn't have been enough, like a big enough event for you to get a planner, but
Yes.
you still have to plan stuff. So,
Yes.
so there's that. And then for a planner, I mean, your knowledge and your expertise, that's your resources. And you can only do so many events a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's only so many dates in a calendar, and you can only take on so many full projects. So I love that it's another like source of income,
Yeah.
another outlet for that knowledge.
It's nice. And also because you can only do a certain number of events, and there's so many fabulous events you want to do, you can have your hands and more creativity in more events this way.
And I'm, sometimes people ask me like, why do I still do month of,
Yeah.
for, for my size, like, why am I still dabbling in that? And part of it is I like staying relevant in
Mm-hmm.
that I don't get to do with the scale of events that I do now. I don't get to do volume.
Yeah.
So, but I still want to, work with that photographer or recommend this venue and stay kind of relevant and top of mind to everyone. So
Yes.
the only way I can do that is by still offering month of.
Yeah.
And also now with the hourly, I can still recommend this photographer, because otherwise I get to choose like 4 photographers a year.
Yes.
So there's so many professionals that I want to keep in contact with and help. And
It's
this
a
is
great way to refer to a broader group of people. And so
right.
tell us the difference how you define, because Plannie is different than month of. It's more like hourly consulting. It may be any period. It could be at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. How Tell me a little bit about the differences between the two.
I mean, month of it's pretty straightforward in that it's you plan,
Yes.
by the time you get to month of, it doesn't mean like wait until 30 days before and then the planner finds you the venue, photographer, transportation. It's really, you're just handing over the contracts, and starting with month of, it's like putting the logistics together,
Yeah.
timelines, it's talking with the vendors, it's prepping, just the deliveries or whatever it might be, right? So that's more at the end. But
Yes.
in terms of, and you can absolutely use that with planning, you can use the hours towards anything. So if
Yeah.
you want
But
someone
it's
to
per hour versus a fixed amount of time.
exactly.
Yeah. And that
So
my background in digital agency world, that's
yeah.
similar. You can work time and materials, fixed costs, or hourly. And the best way to make sure you're paid for your time is really doing the hourly. And at some cases, you'll put together a scope of, I don't think it'll be more than 20 hours, 40 hours, et cetera. And then if it is more than that, you can kind of create a scope change with that client.
So that's exactly, I mean, you totally brought the right, the next like segue into, there's two main goals that I want to do. On the planner side, I do feel like a lot of planners are not fairly compensated,
Yes.
that we're some of the only consultants that are not valued by our time.
Yes.
So I think many event, if not all event planners can relate, that they've had projects where if you boiled it down, that you're making far less than minimum
Right.
wage, right? Like far less. Like
You probably don't even want to know the hours.
want to know, because we'd all, yeah. Um, so I think that's one of the things, because when I've like over the years doing hourly, there's nothing that makes me feel more appreciated and that my time is valued. And, if someone wants to talk for another hour about, decor after we've already had a 2-hour meeting, I'm like, sure, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're on the clock. So you want,
Exactly.
yeah. So it kind of gives you that,
The incentives are are aligned when it's hourly because you both want to be efficient and you want to be productive versus an unlimited, let's talk at midnight, let's talk on the weekend, let's talk,
And so, and on the other side for clients, I really want to democratize event planning.
Yeah.
And what do I mean by this? It's like with Uber, now everyone has the luxury of a personal chauffeur,
Yes.
right? So I wanted to make event planning accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
I noticed many years ago, I think right around when the first like Bridezilla TV show came out, I always follow trends by what kind of emails I get,
Yeah.
coming through. And I noticed that a lot of much smaller budget brides were contacting me
Yeah.
for wedding planning. And, I wanted to find a way to help them. And at the same time, I was realizing like, wow, this is interesting that event planning and wedding planning is not a luxury service.
Right.
I'm consistently being contacted by a $20,000, $15,000 bride. It has like saturated and gone down that it's something that everyone feels that they need, and there is a market. The
Yeah.
market has grown, and I think you probably know that our industry, and we'll see how it is post COVID, but our industry is literally the fastest growing at I think 11%. So
Yeah. I mean, there's so much demand. I think people are, really valuing experiences more than things, and they want amazing experiences for their guests. And again, pre-COVID, we're making bigger investments. I know it will come back, but I do think people want that expertise. They want help, but they probably can't afford the full planner. So I know it is controversial in the industry, but I like how you talk about it, that as long as you're being valued for your time and you're not being set up for all of the disasters that happen like the week before the event, it is a very, very, high value, service that I think people really do need help. They don't know what they don't know.
And I always use the example of an accountant because, like, there are a lot of virtual apps, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of great platforms. Like PartySlate's awesome in terms of getting information
Yeah.
and, seeing more photos of venues and contacting vendors and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes when there's a event planning question or a wedding planning question, it's like you just want to talk to a human,
Yes.
right? It's like when your baby has 110-degree fever. You
Yeah.
don't want to talk to a virtual bot doc.
No, you
You want
need to
to talk
talk to a real person.
yeah,
Yeah.
immediately.
And I
And
do think
so
for destination events, especially when you're not in that local community, it's just, there's
your
so many
anxiety
more
level is
unknowns.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, I think I was using the example also of an accountant is that, event planning, it's like taxes. It's totally legal to file your taxes on your own.
Yeah.
But I know that I love my accountant.
Yeah.
Like I
Don't
can
make me
never
do my
go
own
back to
taxes. Yeah.
TurboTax. Yeah, no, I can't go back. It's like once you've the sweet life of like having access to a planner, you can't really go back.
Yeah.
So
And I'm assuming some people that may hire Plannie to start with some consulting time may get into the event and realize, you know what, I actually do need more help than I thought. And then they could convert into, a full-time planning client.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have a lot of you know what? That's not true. I don't have a lot I have a very small percentage. It's a possibility, but a small percentage that it becomes very clear very early that they're going to use a ton of hours,
Yes.
right? And probably I should stay quiet because I know that it's going to be, again, one of those below
Yeah.
minimum wage kind of situations. But where I'll suggest, like, you might want to switch to a full service package because the amount of, you know,
Hours. You're
yeah,
gonna,
we've
yeah.
already gone through like X, hours, and it's only week 2.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And so tell me more about, so you've set up this kind of network of planners that are really like-minded, experience that can really help people on the ground. What are some of the cities and countries where you have connections in?
I mean, one of the things I love about our industry
Yeah.
is even though like it is such a global, tight knit network.
It's so crazy how small the world is.
Even if I didn't know someone in, I don't know, Rome,
Yeah.
but like, if I
Yeah.
could just ask any one of my colleagues, like, anyone know anyone in Rome? and I would get immediately
Yeah.
like, oh, you should talk to so and so, you should talk to this person. Like
Yeah.
everyone knows, everyone's so connected.
Yeah.
But some of the cities that, I'll name, we have definitely, Paris and most of France,
Yeah.
a lot Italy, north and south, and we have Greece and all the, different Greek islands.
I love Santorini.
I just did a talk actually on every Friday. I do a talk with another local planner
Yes.
to talk about A, what's going on in their community right now, and then B, I love learning about local wedding traditions. It's
Yes.
a wedding planner, so I like learning. It's kind of like a anthropology thing,
Oh yeah, it's great.
but we've got then Guatemala, Bali, Beirut, Dubai, Tokyo, and then US like galore.
Everywhere. Yeah, because you can
Mexico.
obviously do destination events in the US. So a lot of Chicago brides and grooms, like to go to California and like to go,
I,
Charleston.
I mean, I did a whole talk on this. Was I think there's going to be a lot of destination, but within our own country because of
Yes.
travel restrictions, or just ease of getting to places and legal stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I
um,
agree. I think there'll be more local destinations when things get, events can come back 50 to 100 people versus the larger scale overseas. I know that will come back, but we just don't know when.
but I mean, even me, like as I talk to all of these local planners in different cities, I learn so much about what's going on and what life is like for them. And, it's not just, sometimes you can't just watch the news. You have to talk to someone who's really there. I'm like,
Yeah.
is it really like that? They're like,
Yes.
not really, like one city's like that. So then you kind of get a better understanding of what's the temperature.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been watching it closely, and definitely kind of the South and Southeast are coming back, faster. And of course, New York is a little slower. And we're anxiously waiting to see how things safely reopen. But I do think planning, especially now during the time when people are planning smaller events and kind of rethinking their events, I do think people need guides. If they don't have a full time planner and they're looking for a guide, I think it's a really great solution.
I mean, I do see, again, watching my inbox, and I'm sure you've gotten so many of these as well. So many planners and venues are crafting these kind of like micro wedding or
Yes.
elopement packages. And some of them are very like, you get these 5 things, and this is your package, and you just buy it. There's not really a lot of customization. So this, I feel like it just, what I ultimately want to be is super flexible. Like it
Yes.
just gives you all options to, do something in a small setting or in your backyard, or whatever it might be. It
Right.
just gives you that long leash to go
Yeah.
where you need to.
And you want that flexibility. We have three PartySlate brides that are getting married, and one's excited about doing a smaller beach wedding, and the other's pushing out to have their large scale wedding they always dreamed of. So you
Yeah.
really have to follow what that client wants, and help them find a solution. So I think it's great.
And one of the things I really like for this as well, I mean, just there's so many benefits that I didn't even realize until we were going through this period where, clients will pay for time, but it's almost like the time doesn't the that doesn't get paid to the planners until the time has been actually completed.
Yes.
And also for planners, they don't have to plan when there's no funds, when they haven't like already invested in the time. It,
Yes.
so I don't know if that makes sense. Like no one is paying for anything they're not going to get, and no one is putting in time that they're not going to get paid
Yeah,
for.
it's you're getting paid when the services are actually being delivered versus after the fact.
One of the big things that as I'm, reviewing my own contracts and reviewing vendor contracts, people, the category of vendors like planners are actively doing their work throughout the planning process, right?
Yes.
It's not like a photographer who shows up on the day. They might have gotten a deposit, they might have paid their second shooter a deposit or paid income taxes on their
Yeah.
um, first deposit, but the bulk of their work and the payment, in my opinion, should be at the end, versus planners are kind of
Yeah.
continuously.
Yeah, they're the first ones in, right? Creating the vision for the event and working with all the partners and everything. So yeah, it's so similar to my background in digital consulting, working with big companies, and that, really how you scope and how you show value is so important. And with Plannie, you're really upfront saying, I'm going to help you get on the right course, or I'm going to help you get to this stage. And then again, it is a smaller commitment. So again, it's for those customers or clients that haven't committed to full time, and just not the right, or they can't afford that,
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's we'll start with all the traditional need to, like, and then I even think about, like, gosh, the poor lost clueless husband who has to plan his wife's 40th birthday.
Well, my
And
husband will never do it.
I mean, and the wife might be like, crap, what is he gonna come up with? Like, it's because it's not a big enough party that
Yeah.
it doesn't warrant a planner.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're going to end up planning something.
Yes, definitely. And I think milestones, I think now more than ever, being in this surreal world we're living in, I mean, people still want to celebrate those milestones, and they might be in a different format. They might be smaller. I'm seeing all these creative kind of drive-by and driveway parties that are happening with caterers and everything, safe parties. But people still want to celebrate. And I think it's important that they get the help they need. And so I think it's great to have more flexibility with planning. And so tell me, what are the next steps on how do people reach out to you if they're interested in on the planning side, and then also event planners that may be interested in connecting with you?
So, I mean, we have a website, plannie.com, and it's Annie, like Plannie, like Annie Plannie.
Yeah,
And
I like that it rhymes.
and planners can go ahead and sign up. And what we're doing is we are vetting and just making sure that they meet our criteria.
Yes.
And then there is right now we're doing it a little bit more white glove at the moment because we can handle the volume, where we're pairing clients. You just list what type of event, what city you're in, and then you'll get paired with a planner that is in that city, speaks the language that you do, all that kind of stuff. And is also, what's really important is the right price point in
Yes.
terms of, like, you want to speak with the planner that knows vendors in your budget tier.
Yes.
Because if you're $100,000 client, like, that's your budget, but there's no sense in talking to someone that only works in 25,000 or below, because
Yes.
they might not know, and vice versa, right?
Right.
It's just like, your stratosphere the best.
Yeah.
And
So you
so,
can do that matching system.
exactly.
Yeah. And we are featuring your amazing Planny events on PartySlate. So we're really excited about that. And I'll tell you, it doesn't matter what size event or where it is, anytime there's inspiration, new ideas, beautiful events, we love to feature those on PartySlate. So, but anyway, I am so glad I got to learn more about Planny. I've been hearing about this for a while. We're going to promote this on our side and really make sure people know this is a great new resource. And anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
I think you got it. I mean, I really just trying to get using word of mouth, I think, is probably the biggest way that we're trying to promote and get it out there. So if you know someone who's planning, or if or you are a planner, we want to hear from you and we want to help you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Annie. I'm excited to see this grow, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
See you next time.